Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nuganomics with David Toulis.
The system is so illiquid that if you, my listener, and I take out from the credit union or the bank $100, there's going to be a memo that is passed with a note of distress and maybe an extra exclamation point on the last line, passed uphill to the bosses about a new danger, the danger of liquidity in the marketplace, a danger of the proles, that is to say the proletariat, you and me, the common people, having liquid Federal Reserve notes in our purses, in our billfolds, ready to dispense with goodness and mercy in the way of financial transactions, in the way of trading, as I like to say, trading being what country people do. Country people are not consumers, they're traders, right? Each man is offering something in exchange. And that is, in fact, the old-fashioned way of looking at the marketplace is trading. If you are a consumer, it's all about you, right? Your benefit, your price, your cost, your convenience. But when you think of the local economy, the free market, in terms of trading, the older style, that term has in view a mutual exchange, and an exchange between two equals. One maybe has a service, the other one has some green rectangles that he'd like to trade for that service. And so he pays, there is an exchange, a fair exchange based upon the point at issue, and that is the price and the nature and extent of the benefits of that particular service or product. That is local economy. And so a trading economy is one that is old style. You might say it's legacy economy. But I think in that form of business, there is a kind of hope, a kind of rescue. There's a kind of redemption that we're not going to possibly have in the modern economy, where everything's done on credit. There's a flagellum for every sandwich. You buy a sandwich, and there's a mortgage on that sandwich, and at the end of it, you've got a report. That transaction for the sandwich at Armando's, right, and the Coke, these are trailing after it, and it's very complicated. And what we want to have are simple and clean, non-mortgaged hamburgers. And so we propose the cash economy. So you, my listener, and I, again, here's the calendar. Put it on your calendar. The first Friday of every month, you and I, we're going to shake the system to its boots by drawing out $100, 100 green ones, or two pieces of paper with 50 written on each one 8 times, with "In God We Trust" inked in on the back. And we are going to liberate ourselves from the tapeworm economy, the credit economy. Now, there's a man who in business really likes to be paid in green rectangles. His name is Whit Miller. And if you're about to buy a house, but you find out from a neighbor that there was a man murdered in that house, and his body was in the bedroom, there was blood on the wall, and some of his blood after his injuries leaked down through the floor and into a cooling vent, you're going to have that cleaned up. Well, what you need to do is, before you make that purchase, you get the seller to contact PuroClean Restoration Services. And Whit Miller, the man in the red shirt, will come and say, "Yes, sir, we are specialized in restoration. We will take care of this problems." And what you need to do is say, "Okay, well, would you take a discount? Let's say that the house altogether needs $1,000 in services. There's the blood in the bedroom, but there's been some water damage elsewhere, and there's some carpet with a mold on it where the prior owners kept a drip going and didn't maintain the house. So there's $1,000 worth of work that PuroClean Restoration Services is going to be doing for you through the offices of the seller." Well, okay. What needs to happen, I propose, is that you get Whit Miller at PuroClean to take care of your restoration job, and he will give you, or he will give the seller of the house a discount. If you have $1,000 in exchange, he will give you a $50 discount for payment of these very things. Whit, why are green rectangles a benefit to a local businessman? You are the manager of that business. Why do you care about this? You're paid mostly by what means now?
We are paid mostly by credit card and checks. A lot of our work that we do is through insurance companies, so it's insurance checks. And why it's so beneficial is because we don't want to chase down money. I don't want that to be the majority of my job, is chasing down people and getting payment. Instead, I want to be paid up front, just like any other good service provider.
Well, let's say that my listener has a big job. Let's say it's a $5,000 job. What are the terms that that people in your field demand of that transaction? Do you demand half up front and then the rest later, or how does that work?
We usually ask for half up front, and then again, if it's insurance company jobs, we're kind of at the whim of the insurance company. So
but
when
they'll pay you.
Yes.
There's
we
not
do know ultimately they will pay us.
that you may have to wait 90 days or
Exactly.
longer, but you will get paid. So, but it's sometimes the individual that
If
makes
it's a
you
self-pay,
worried.
we're always willing to work with people. We want to do the best job we can for you. We'd like some money up front. We'll take some down the road too. But obviously, if there's cash, we're always excited about getting cash right away.
Excited. So so if it's $100 job, a very small one, you're going to get a $5 discount, and that's something that you, my listener, want to keep in mind if you need any kind of restoration work done. Now, Whit, you do restoration for mold. Talk about mold, and let's hear about some of the other things that your company handles.
Sure. So PuroClean Restoration Services, it's a restoration company here in town. We're one of 200 franchises nationwide, but they're all independently owned and operated. The simplest way to look at it is we clean and dry after property damage. So whether that's water, fire, ironically enough, most fire jobs become water jobs because the firemen have put out so much water to get the fire out. Mold, a biohazard, odor, smoke. What we're doing is we're cleaning and drying that property again. And why it's so important is if you don't get your property and your structure clean and dry down the road, that's going to cause more health problems to yourself.
Well, the house is on the market. There's been a murder in that house. The blood has been thrown about and leaked down through the floor. That's a biohazard cleanup job.
That's
right. Have you done any in Chattanooga?
I have done biohazard jobs here in Chattanooga, murder jobs and suicide jobs.
Wow. Okay. And so that's something very tenderly you and your staff at PuroClean Restorations deal with. I'm sure that the owner has much angst in having that job done, doesn't he?
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't understand that it's something you really don't want to clean up yourself. You want to be certified and know how to handle that kind of stuff. And the second part of that is, why would you want to clean that up yourself? That's such a horrible situation that hire the experts to do that instead.
Well, we hear a lot about mold. How bad is the mold problem, generally speaking, Whit Miller?
We are here in the South where relative humidity is high. There is always going to be mold everywhere you go. So in general, yeah, the mold is not, it's a bad situation. But same thing, if it's a small amount of mold, let's say less than 10 square feet, I can usually talk you through cleaning it yourself. If it's anything more than 10 square feet, call the professionals. We've been doing this. Our franchise here has been in town 6 years now. But again, we're one of over 200 franchises. One of the reasons I like Franchise Solution is if you have a question for me that I don't understand about mold, hey, I've got 12 offices within 4 hours that I can call and ask them.
Well, my listener's about to duck out. He's got an appointment. What's the number that he can call to reach you with?
You can reach us at 423-875-6136 or my cell phone, 423-488-1144.
Now, you're a man who was in another career, and I'm glad you're here to talk with my listener and me about the change you made. You were for 9 years. You were in real estate. You were not a real estate agent, but you were a man who provided the service of buying and selling houses. You did that for 9 years. House flipping, you did about 10 a year. So as you tell me, there are about 100 houses that you have worked through. Some of which you made improvements on here in the Chattanooga market. What happened? And tell about the change you really had to make in that field, and how it is you ended up with PuroClean Restoration Services, and of which you're now the manager.
Sure, David. Yeah, I did house flipping for about 9 years, ran a couple of different LLCs, some with my family, my brother and father, some on my own. And then about 2008, 2009, as everybody knows, the house market just kind of crashed on us. And I was, at the time in 2008, I had 3 houses that I could not sell or rent for 18 months. So I realized for my family what was important is I needed to get a job with some stability again. Very luckily met the owner's wife at my church, Signal Crest, and she hooked me up with Bruce Krebs, her husband. I had a residential background. He's got a great entrepreneurial background, and we've just been lucky ever since that it's really worked out quite well.
This is David Toulis. You're at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're the Colin Cowherd station. We have, you might say, the Rush Limbaugh of sports here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We are the station that you might say owns talk radio in Chattanooga. We've got Colin Cowherd at noon and Sean Hannity every day, every weekday here at 3 o'clock. We've got all kinds of great shows. Keon Rose is our sports expert. He's a local man at 6, highly opinionated. It gives you the national sketch every day. We've got Binary with Russell. Every Thursday we have the Patriot Prepper program with Duke Nukem here at our station. We argue for loving our neighbors and buying local, having a prejudice, right? Being a prejudiced person. I sure am, and my prejudice is in favor of local over national, cash over credit. One of our slogans is Nougacentrism, and I've coined that word. If you want to file that with the Trademark Commission, you can go right ahead and take credit for it. I'll continue to use it with your leave. And in that concept, we've got near is better than far, small is better than big, and simple than complex. And down in the footnotes where the fleas are fighting with scimitar and javelin, right? The javelins wielded by fleas with red crosses on their chests, and the scimitars by those with the Moorish half moon. You have in 6-point type the following: personal is better than corporate, and physical than abstract. So, Whit, you're a family man. Your wife Connie is a special education teacher. You've got a son, K-12, and Bridie, your daughter, an 8-year-old girl, and you are managing now PuroClean Restoration Services. That's a pretty competitive field. There's Serve Pro, there's Service Master. How is it that PuroClean sets itself apart from these competitors, some of whom have very heavy advertising I see on television?
Two of the things that PuroClean does really, really well, our franchise in particular, one is that we respond. We're an emergency service. So if you call at 3 in the morning, we come out. If you call at Christmas and say, hey, our toilet is backed up, we come out. And that's something that's really important when you've got an emergency in your house. The other thing that spaces us apart from our competitors is our customer service. I know a lot of people say that, but here's the difference. We have a document that has to be filled out by the customer at the end of each job called an excellent service endorsement. And it specifically says, here are the things that PuroClean did well. Now, if they're unwilling to sign that document, in my opinion, we're not done. I want them to be completely satisfied. We've explained our process. They know what we're doing. They're satisfied with the final cost. And if they are satisfied and they can fill that out, then I want them to review us on Google, review us on Facebook. I want people to be completely satisfied with what we've done inside their house. This
is David Toulis, and Whit Miller is the manager of the PuroClean Restoration Services division here in Chattanooga. He's been the general manager since 2009. There are 2 people who work full-time for PuroClean, and then there are 2 part-time techs. He's a man who made a career change. My listener wants to know, Whit, what happened to the 3 properties you had in the meltdown? Did you just take a lot? We want to hear the gory details.
Well, like I said, I had these probably January 2008, so about the middle of June 2009. And yeah, I could not get buyers. The renters that were looking at them, I wasn't satisfied with the amount, their credit scores and stuff. Everybody was hit so hard by that. So ultimately, middle of 2009, yeah, I had to sell all 3 at a loss. And it was an ugly situation.
In your business, how is we were talking about payment and promises to pay. Of course, a check is an order to pay. A check is CHECK is a piece of paper that the customer hands you, and it's an order it's on the bank's paper. All right, that's called a check. It has the issuing bank's name on it. It's an order that he order to pay that he hands to you. You go to that bank through your banker or directly to either cash the check or to deposit it in your account. Then there's check, CHEQUE, which apparently is something that affects the payment. That would be a traveler's check, for example. Then there are credit cards. What is the hit that your business takes when a credit card is used? How much tax does that impose on you, the acceptor of that
typically
payment?
Anywhere from 2 to 5% is the credit card.
Wow. So credit is something that you're glad to get paid, right? You're glad to get
Always
paid.
Glad to get paid. Absolutely.
but you have to pay the fee.
Right.
The fee skimming national economy. That's how national prosperity makes its way anymore is skimming fees, and but now we have this third method, and that would be, or the fourth method, and that would be green rectangles, such as the one I'm holding in my hands here for our viewer on YouTube. By the way, we are on YouTube. All of our shows are live, and my name is David Toulis, the editor with the bow tie, and formerly a newsprint ink stained fingertips, the very mild-mannered editor, mind you, very mild-mannered. And we're holding up some green rectangles. My thinking is that we need to make a demonstration in favor of local economy. And to do that, I'd like to say every first Friday of the month, you, my listener, and I, we will go to the lender, which in which we have deposits, which of course pays nothing. There's no benefit to you to keeping your money on deposit by way of interest. And we're going to take out, at no loss to ourselves, $100. That is to say, 2 pieces of paper, each one with a 50 written on it 8 times. On the back, it says, "In God we trust." And so we may trust in God, but let's trust more in local economy and make the payment. So if Whit is paid in cash, he says that if you buy some services from Whit Miller, he is going to give you a $50 discount for paying cash if your job is $1,000 or more. Now, a restoration job could run into what, $10,000? How big do these jobs get?
20,000,
wow.
50,000, 100,000 if it's commercial.
What's the biggest restoration job you've had here in Chattanooga, Whit Miller?
We primarily do residential work. We've done probably about 80% residential, 20% commercial. Recently, we've been doing a lot of mold work with whole houses, and the last mold job we did that was a whole house was right at 46,000.
Well, my listener has a question about mold. Is mold really something that affects human health, or is it just something that just looks bad?
Mold is something that affects human health. The only person that could really answer that is your doctor. It's very similar to allergies. Everybody responds to it differently, but mold can affect your respiratory, your lungs, your eyes, your breathing, just everything about it. There's nothing good about mold.
And it can exacerbate other vulnerabilities you might have, let's say, to pollen.
Absolutely.
Right? It's something like pollen. It's in the air, microscopic particles.
Well, and so many people listen to the radio and television, see that these phrases black mold, and think that's the only kind they're in. In reality, there are thousands upon thousands of different kinds of mold. And again, you're going to react differently to each one.
Well, let's say there's mold under a carpet where there's been some dampness. What's the chemical you use to get rid of it? What's the process? My guy listener wants to know of fighting it.
So if you've got mold in your house, there's 2 ways of looking at this. One is if it's a porous thing, porous has to go. If it's a hard like wood or marble countertop, that can be cleaned. Our process is we use an oxidizer. So it's got 20% hydrogen peroxide. Just like when you cut your finger, you pour hydrogen peroxide on it, that blood bubbles up and you wipe it away and it's clean. Mold is the same way. Kill it with hydrogen peroxide. It bubbles to the surface, and then we use a heparate vacuum cleaner to vacuum away the mold.
And so that reduces the health risk in your house. And if you're selling a house, that prepares it for sale. Real estate agents, people who evaluate houses for damages prior to sale, they're aware of the mold problem, right? They're looking for mold if
you have
the housing
the
house inspector.
Absolutely, house inspectors are looking at. You have to disclose it. Now, unfortunately, for my business anyway, there's nothing yet that says in real estate the mold has to be cleaned. However, if you've disclosed it, you're going to have a hard time selling that house if it's got mold.
So if you disclose it and there's enough for the inspector to see, better just take care of it now.
Absolutely.
Well, okay, so you like having cash payments, Whit Miller.
You keep waving it in front of my face.
Well, I want the listener to entice the listener who's watching us on YouTube at the Hot News Talk Radio channel to say, well, that taking $100 out of the banking system is dangerous, and it's dangerous because the banking system doesn't have anything in it. It is not. There is no money in the system, and cash is a tiny fragment of the monetary base. And if you take cash out, you are effectively taking $1,000 out of the system, because there's just as money is created by the banking process. You put in $100 on deposit, the system creates $1,000 out of it. If you take out 100, you are effectively taking out 1,000 from the system, which the system doesn't want. The system is highly leveraged to the hill. So if you take cash out, you are making a statement for local economy, for actual payment. You're registering your protest that we've had enough debt, we've had enough credit. Let's do cash. And so here, Whit Miller, in the red shirt from the PuroClean Restoration Services, is saying, "Pay me in cash,
Absolutely.
and I will give you how much for a $1,000 job?
$50 off.
$50 off. Pay in cash, and you'll get $50 off." That is to say, one, one of these notes. This is David Toulis, and we're brought to you by Eric Pelton, the numbers guy. Eric Pelton is the accountant who makes your numbers work. He's the numbers guy, and he will satisfy your high-tech needs on your numbers. The number is 622-3156. That's 622-3156. Get on Eric Pelton's agenda today. If you are liable for taxation in the federal system or state system, make sure that Eric handles your return. Do it now. Save hundreds of dollars on your tax dealings with government. Also, we're brought to you by Ray's Plumbing. Ray is the man to take care of you. His number is 421-6341. That's 421-6341. Ray's Plumbing, with his truck bays in Middle Valley. Ray Zaplinski. I can't spell it, but that's how you say it. Ray Zaplinski, Ray's Plumbing. He's the man for you. He is a ray of sunshine in your plumbing needs, whether it's construction or repair, residential or commercial. This is David Toulis, and Whit, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Whit Miller is the manager here in Chattanooga of the PuroClean Restoration Services in the red shirt, and he takes care of mold, smoke, water, biohazard. If there's a murder in a house you want to buy, he'll already have been there. He'll have taken care of it. You'll never know. You'll never see any sign of it. This is David Toulis.